In the heart of French Lick, Indiana, where dreams are as vast as the starlit sky, a simple discovery was about to spark an extraordinary chain of events that would become part of basketball legend. If you're watching this from anywhere in the world today, get ready for a tale that proves how one person's dedication can illuminate more than just a basketball court. The year was 1973. And the Springs Valley High School gymnasium stood silent in the gathering dusk. Its weathered brick walls held countless stories of triumph and defeat, but none quite like what was about to unfold. The old court had seen better days, its wooden floors bearing the scuff marks of countless young athletes who'd chased their dreams across its surface, but there was something missing. Something that would become the catalyst for an unforgettable story of determination and community spirit. Larry Bird, already showing signs of the basketball greatness that would later define him, had developed a habit of practicing long after his teammates had gone home. On this particular evening, the young athlete arrived at the court just as the sun was setting, his worn basketball tucked under his arm, only to find himself standing in near-complete darkness. The gymnasium's ancient lighting system had finally given out, leaving the court shrouded in shadows that made practice impossible. For most people, this would have been the end of the story. A simple inconvenience that meant heading home early. But Larry wasn't most people. Standing there in the dimness, he felt something stirring inside him, a mixture of frustration and determination that would soon transform into action. The court had been his sanctuary, his place of solace, where personal troubles melted away with each perfect shot, each practiced drill. The darkness wasn't just an obstacle, it was a challenge to overcome. The situation grew more complex as days passed. The school administration had made it clear that funding for new lighting was months away, if it would come at all. The local budget was tight, and there were other priorities that seemed more pressing than illuminating a gymnasium for after-hours practice. Yet Larry knew that excellence wasn't built during convenient hours. It was forged in those extra moments, those additional shots, those late-night training sessions that separated the good from the great. As word spread about the gymnasium's lighting problem, different reactions emerged from the community. Some dismissed it as a minor inconvenience, suggesting that practicing during daylight hours should be sufficient. Others sympathized but saw no immediate solution. The school board meeting where the issue was raised resulted in polite acknowledgement, but no concrete action plan. The message was clear. If change was going to happen, it would have to come from somewhere else. What nobody realized was that Larry had already begun formulating a plan. During his part-time job at the local hardware store, he'd been quietly studying the lighting catalogs, learning about electrical systems, and calculating costs. His calculations were precise, his determination unwavering. The young athlete had always been known for his quiet intensity, but now there was something else in his eyes, a spark of innovation that would soon light up more than just a basketball court. The solution began to take shape in Larry's mind during his daily routine of delivering newspapers before dawn. Every morning, as he moved through the sleeping town, he observed how different businesses lit their outdoor spaces. He paid particular attention to the local car dealership's lot, noting how their powerful lights transformed night into day. These observations became the foundation of an idea that would soon capture the imagination of the entire community. What made this situation particularly poignant was the contrast between Larry's humble approach and the magnitude of his ambition. Here was a young man who rarely spoke unless spoken to, who preferred to let his actions on the court speak for him, now preparing to tackle a problem that even the school administration couldn't solve. His quiet determination was about to transform into something that would leave an indelible mark on the community. The turning point came one evening when Larry was practicing his shots in the fading daylight. A group of younger kids from the neighborhood had gathered to watch him play, as they often did. As darkness fell and they had to call it quits, one of the young observers asked him why he couldn't just play somewhere else. Larry's response was simple but profound. This court isn't just wood and metal. It's where dreams begin. That moment crystallized everything for him. The next day, Larry began putting his plan into action. He started by approaching local businesses, not with his hand out asking for charity, but with a detailed proposal. He had calculated exactly what was needed: the type of lights, the installation costs, the potential energy savings compared to the old system. His preparation and quiet confidence made people listen in a way they might not have to a typical teenager. The situation took an unexpected turn when news of his efforts reached the local paper. The story wasn't just about a broken lighting system anymore. It had become a testament to initiative and community spirit. People began to see the young athlete in a different light, not just as a talented basketball player, but as someone willing to tackle problems head-on, someone who refused to let circumstances dictate limitations. As autumn days grew shorter and the need for lighting became more pressing, Larry's solution began to take shape. His plan wasn't just about installing new lights. It was about creating something sustainable, something that would serve the community for years to come. The methodical way he approached the problem, combined with his unwavering dedication to finding a solution, began to draw attention from unexpected quarters. What made this story particularly compelling was how it challenged the typical narrative of teenage athletes. Instead of complaining about the situation or waiting for others to solve the problem, Larry had chosen to take action. His approach demonstrated a maturity and foresight that surprised many adults in the community. The quiet determination that would later become his trademark in professional basketball was already evident in how he handled this challenge. The story began to spread beyond the confines of French Lick, catching the attention of neighboring communities facing similar challenges. Larry's initiative was becoming a blueprint for how young people could effect change in their communities. His approach, careful planning, community engagement, and unwavering determination was teaching lessons that went far beyond basketballs. The first phase of his plan neared completion. Something remarkable began to happen. The project had taken on a life of its own, bringing together people who might never have otherwise connected. The local electricians' union took notice, impressed by the young athlete's detailed research into lighting systems. Business owners who had initially been skeptical found themselves drawn in by the practical nature of his proposal. The situation was about to reach a critical point. Larry had done everything possible to prepare for what would come next, but even he couldn't have predicted how his midnight fix would capture the imagination of an entire town. The stage was set for a remarkable demonstration of community spirit and individual determination, one that would leave a lasting impact on everyone involved. The ending of this first chapter finds us at a crucial moment, with Larry Bird standing on the cusp of implementing his solution. The old gymnasium, still shrouded in darkness, was about to become the scene of something extraordinary. The question wasn't just about whether the lights would work. It was about what happens when one person refuses to accept limitations and inspires others to join in creating change. Have you ever faced a situation where the easy path would have been to accept things as they were? Share in the comments where you're watching from and tell us about a time when you chose to light up the darkness instead of cursing it. Remember, sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest sparks of determination. What happened next in French Lick would become more than just a story about fixing lights. It would transform into a testament to ingenuity and community spirit. As the autumn chill settled over Indiana, Larry Bird's midnight solution was about to illuminate more than just a basketball court. The young athlete's initial research had led him to an unexpected discovery. During his newspaper route, he'd noticed how the local drive-in theater had recently upgraded their projection system, leaving behind a set of powerful industrial floodlights. These lights, while outdated for movie projection, were still perfectly capable of illuminating a basketball court. It was the kind of detail that others might have overlooked, but Larry had always been known for seeing opportunities where others saw obstacles. The drive-in's owner was initially surprised when the tall, quiet teenager approached him with a detailed proposal. Larry had calculated exactly how the lights could be repurposed, complete with drawings showing optimal positioning for maximum court coverage. His preparation was meticulous, down to the estimated cost of rewiring and installation. The owner, impressed by such thorough planning from someone so young, agreed to donate the lights, but this was just the beginning of what would become a community-wide effort. Word of Larry's initiative began spreading through the town's morning coffee shops and evening dinner tables. The local hardware store where he worked part-time became an unofficial headquarters for the project. The owner, recognizing the potential impact on the community, offered to provide additional electrical supplies at cost. It was a gesture that would inspire others to contribute in their own ways. The situation took an interesting turn when the high school's shop teacher learned of the plan. He saw an opportunity to turn the lighting project into a practical learning experience for his students. What had started as one young man's solution to a problem was evolving into something larger, a chance for the community to come together and create something meaningful. As news of the project spread, it began to attract attention from unexpected quarters. The local electricians' union, impressed by Larry's detailed planning, offered to supervise the installation to ensure everything met safety codes. Their involvement added legitimacy to what might otherwise have been dismissed as a teenager's impractical dream. It was becoming clear that this project was about more than just basketball. It was about a community recognizing and supporting initiative and determination. The preparation phase revealed aspects of Larry's character that would later become legendary in his professional career. His attention to detail was remarkable. Every measurement precise, every calculation double-checked. He approached the lighting project with the same methodical dedication he brought to perfecting his jump shot. This wasn't just about getting lights up quickly. It was about doing things right. Meanwhile, the school's administration watched with a mixture of surprise and admiration as the project gained momentum. What they had dismissed as a low-priority maintenance issue had become a rallying point for community involvement. The principal, who had initially been skeptical, found himself reconsidering his stance as he witnessed the level of planning and community support the project had attracted. Larry's approach to organizing the work reflected the same strategic thinking he displayed on the basketball court. He created a schedule that worked around everyone's commitments. Union electricians could supervise after their regular workday. Shop class students could help with basic assembly during free periods, and local businesses could contribute when it best suited them. This coordination required diplomatic skills that few knew the quiet teenager possessed. The project faced its share of challenges. The initial mounting system design needed modification to withstand Indiana's strong winds. The electrical panel in the gym required more extensive upgrading than initially anticipated. Each obstacle could have been a stopping point, but instead became an opportunity for creative problem-solving. Larry's response to these challenges demonstrated a resilience that would become his trademark. As the installation date approached, the project had grown into something far beyond its original scope. What had started as a simple lighting upgrade had become a lesson in community organizing and project management. Local businesses that had initially offered small contributions found themselves more deeply involved, inspired by the young athletes' dedication and the growing community spirit. The transformation of the gymnasium was becoming a symbol of what could be accomplished when determination met opportunity. Larry's quiet leadership style, leading by example rather than words, had created a model of community action that others were already talking about replicating for different projects. His ability to bring people together without grand speeches or dramatic gestures was proving remarkably effective. The actual installation work began on a crisp Saturday morning. The scene at the gymnasium was remarkable. Electricians working alongside high school students, business owners lending equipment, and community members providing support in whatever way they could. Larry moved between groups, his height making him easy to spot, quietly coordinating efforts and ensuring everything proceeded according to plan. Perhaps the most significant aspect of the project was its impact on the younger students. Watching their basketball hero tackle a complex problem with such determination was inspiring a new kind of confidence. They were learning that excellence wasn't just about athletic ability, it was about seeing problems as opportunities and having the courage to take action. The installation process revealed the wisdom of Larry's detailed planning. Each component had been carefully thought through, from the angle of the lights to minimize glare, to the positioning of switches for easy access. His experience on the court had given him insights into exactly what players would need, and his attention to detail ensured those needs would be met. As the work progressed, the project began to attract attention from neighboring communities. Other schools facing similar challenges sent representatives to observe and learn. The French Lick project was becoming a blueprint for how small communities could solve problems through collective effort and careful planning. The weather cooperated throughout most of the installation, but challenges arose when an unexpected storm front moved through the area. The community's response to this setback was telling. People showed up with tarps and tools, working together to protect the partially completed work. It was a testament to how deeply invested the community had become in the project's success. Larry's mother, watching from the sidelines, saw her son in a new light. The quiet determination he'd always shown on the basketball court was now being applied to something that would benefit the entire community. His leadership style, subtle but effective, was drawing people together in ways that more obvious attempts at organizing had failed to achieve. The project's impact extended beyond the physical installation of lights. It was creating connections between different parts of the community that had rarely interacted before. Business owners were talking with high school students about career opportunities, union workers were sharing their expertise with eager learners, and everyone was witnessing the power of focused community effort. As the installation neared completion, anticipation began building throughout the town. The gymnasium that had stood dark after sunset for so long was about to be transformed. But the real transformation had already occurred in the way the community viewed itself and its ability to solve problems through collective action. The final phase of the installation required precise adjustments to ensure optimal lighting coverage. Larry insisted on testing the lights at different angles, making sure every corner of the court would be properly illuminated. His persistence in getting every detail right reminded everyone why he excelled on the basketball court. It was this same attention to detail, this unwillingness to settle for good enough, that characterized everything he did. The story was about to reach its climax, but already it had achieved something remarkable. A community had come together, inspired by one young man's refusal to accept limitations. The dark gymnasium that had seemed like an insurmountable problem was about to become a symbol of what determined people could achieve when they worked together. Have you ever been part of a community project that started small but grew into something bigger? Share your story in the comments below and let us know what you learned about the power of persistence and community support. Sometimes the greatest achievements start with one person refusing to accept the darkness, the night that would forever change French Lick's basketball legacy arrived without fanfare or formal announcement. The autumn air held a distinct chill as darkness settled over the town, but something extraordinary was about to illuminate more than just the gymnasium's weathered walls. Larry Bird had chosen midnight for the first test of the new lighting system, a time when the town slept and the gymnasium stood silent. His reasoning was practical. He wanted to assess the true power of the lights against complete darkness, but there was something poetic about this timing, something that spoke to the countless hours he'd spent practicing when others were sleeping. The young athlete stood alone at the gymnasium's electrical panel, his hand hovering over the switches that would bring his vision to life. Months of planning, community effort, and meticulous attention to detail had led to this moment. The repurposed drive-in theater lights hung overhead, their potential energy waiting to be unleashed. In that moment of anticipation, the gymnasium held its breath. With a decisive motion, Larry flipped the first switch. Light flooded the court in a cascade of brilliance that pushed back the darkness. The illumination revealed every detail of the space. The freshly painted lines, the worn but dignified backboards, the nets that hung with quiet promise. The transformation was instant and absolute. What had been shadows moments before was now bathed in clear, even light that made midnight look like midday. The quality of the illumination exceeded even Larry's careful calculations. The repurposed drive-in lights, positioned according to his precise specifications, created perfect coverage without harsh shadows or glare spots. Every corner of the court was clearly visible, every line sharp and defined. It was, in every way, a professional-level lighting system born from community, ingenuity, and determination. Standing at center court, basketball in hand, Larry took his first shot under the new lights. The ball arced through the illuminated air, its trajectory perfect, and passed through the net with a soft swish that echoed in the empty gymnasium. It was more than just a basket. It was a validation of vision, planning, and persistence. Word of the midnight illumination spread through French Lick with remarkable speed. Despite the late hour, people began appearing at the gymnasium's doors, drawn by the unprecedented glow emanating from its windows. Local residents who had contributed to the project arrived first, followed by curious neighbors, and eventually what seemed like half the town. The impromptu gathering turned into something unexpected, a midnight celebration of community achievement. The gymnasium's doors were opened and people filed in, their faces showing amazement at the transformation. The space that had been unusable after sunset was now as bright as day, its potential suddenly unlimited. Larry's high school teammates arrived, still pulling on their basketball shoes as they hurried through the doors. Without any formal organization, a pickup game materialized under the new lights. The sound of bouncing balls and squeaking sneakers filled the space, accompanied by the murmur of an impromptu audience gathering in the bleachers. The school's principal, who had initially been skeptical of the project, stood in the doorway observing the scene with undisguised amazement. The lighting system wasn't just functional. It was professional grade, transforming the modest high school gymnasium into something that could rival any basketball facility in the state. His expression shifted from surprise to pride as he watched his students playing under lights that their own community had made possible. What made the moment particularly powerful was watching Larry quietly explain the technical details to anyone who asked. He pointed out how the angles of the lights eliminated shadows, how the positioning prevented glare from affecting players' vision, how the system was designed to be energy efficient. His comprehensive understanding of every aspect of the project reflected the depth of his commitment to getting things right. The midnight gathering sparked something new in the community. People who had contributed in different ways, the electricians, the shop class students, the local business owners, found themselves sharing stories of the project's evolution. Each person had a different perspective on how their small part had contributed to the larger success, creating a tapestry of community cooperation that would be remembered for years to come. As the impromptu celebration continued, the true impact of the lighting project began to emerge. This wasn't just about basketball, it was about what a community could achieve when it came together behind a vision. The gymnasium had become a symbol of possibility, a testament to the power of refusing to accept limitations. The younger players in the pickup game moved with extra energy, inspired by their surroundings. The new lighting system revealed every detail of their play: the spin of the ball, the quick cuts to the basket, the determination on their faces. It was as if the improved visibility had elevated everyone's game, pushing them to perform at a higher level. Local reporters who had arrived at the scene began taking notes, recognizing that this story went beyond sports. They saw how the project had united different segments of the community, how it had turned a problem into an opportunity for collective achievement. Their stories would later spread beyond French Lick, inspiring other communities to look at their own challenges differently. The school's basketball coach arrived just before 1 a.m., drawn by calls from excited players. Standing at the edge of the court, he watched his team playing with an intensity usually reserved for championship games. The new lighting had transformed the space into something magical, something that seemed to demand excellence from anyone who stepped onto the court. What struck many observers was how Larry remained in the background during the celebration. He continued practicing his shots, moving methodically around the court as others celebrated around him. His focus hadn't changed. The lights were never about recognition or acclaim. They were about creating opportunities for improvement, about removing obstacles to excellence. The midnight gathering gradually evolved into an informal tournament, with teams forming spontaneously and games flowing one into another. The energy in the gymnasium never wavered, fueled by the excitement of possibility that the new lights represented. People who hadn't picked up a basketball in years found themselves drawn onto the court, caught up in the spirit of the moment. Parents who had arrived to check on their children stayed to watch the games, their conversations turning to memories of their own high school basketball days. The gymnasium had always been a community gathering place, but now it felt different, more alive, more full of potential. The new lighting had somehow made the space feel both more professional and more accessible. As the night progressed, the impact of the project on the younger generation became increasingly apparent. They watched Larry with new respect, not just for his basketball skills, but for his ability to transform an idea into reality. His example showed them that leadership didn't always require loud voices or grand gestures. Sometimes it was about quiet determination and meticulous execution. The local hardware store owner, who had provided materials at cost, stood in the bleachers watching the scenes unfold. His investment in the project had been repaid many times over, not in money, but in the satisfaction of seeing how it had brought the community together. He noted how the young athletes' careful planning had ensured that every component worked perfectly together. Around 2 a.m., someone noticed that Larry had quietly slipped away from the gymnasium. It was typical of his approach. No grand speeches, no demands for recognition, just the satisfaction of seeing a vision become reality. His absence only emphasized how the project had grown beyond any single individual, becoming truly owned by the entire community. The next day, as word of the midnight lighting spread through French Lick, the project's broader impact began to emerge. Other school districts sent representatives to study the installation, hoping to replicate its success. Local businesses reported increased interest in community involvement. The gymnasium had become more than a basketball court. It was proof of what determined people could achieve together. Have you ever witnessed a moment when a community came together to achieve something remarkable? Share your stories in the comments below. Sometimes the greatest victories happen not under the spotlight, but in those quiet moments when people unite behind a common purpose. In the days following the midnight illumination, French Lick began to experience a transformation that went far beyond improved basketball facilities. The story of the gymnasium lights had sparked something in the community's collective consciousness, creating ripples that would spread far beyond the small Indiana town. The morning after the impromptu midnight celebration, the gymnasium took on a different character in daylight. Students arriving for morning classes found themselves drawn to the space, even though the new lights weren't needed. There was something different about the atmosphere, a sense of possibility that hadn't existed before. The court seemed to hold the energy of the previous night's celebration, a tangible reminder that extraordinary things were possible. Local newspapers picked up the story, but what caught their attention wasn't just the technical achievement of the lighting system. They focused on how a high school student had managed to orchestrate a community-wide effort without fanfare or conflict. The articles highlighted the project's efficiency, noting how Larry's careful planning had maximized resources and minimized waste. It was a story of practical idealism that resonated far beyond sports circles. The project's impact on the school's basketball program was immediate and profound. Morning practice sessions began earlier, now that proper lighting wasn't an issue. Evening training could extend as long as necessary. But more importantly, the gymnasium had become a symbol of excellence, inspiring players to push themselves harder. The lights that Larry had envisioned weren't just illuminating the court, they were lighting the way to higher standards. Neighboring towns began sending delegations to study what French Lick had accomplished. They came expecting to learn about electrical systems and installation techniques, but they left with lessons about community organization and the power of youth leadership. The visiting officials were particularly impressed by how the project had united different segments of the community, creating connections that continued to strengthen. The local business community experienced unexpected benefits from their involvement in the project. The hardware store that had provided materials at cost found itself becoming a hub for other community improvement initiatives. The drive-in theater owner who had donated the original lights became a mentor figure for young entrepreneurs, sharing his experience about recognizing opportunity in unexpected places. What made the story particularly compelling was how Larry handled the attention. He continued his regular routine, early morning newspaper delivery, afternoon work at the hardware store, and long hours of practice under the new lights. When asked about the project, he deflected praise to the community members who had contributed their time and expertise. His humility and success proved as instructive as his determination had been during the project's execution. The gymnasium's transformation began influencing the school's culture beyond athletics. Teachers noticed students approaching problems differently, looking for innovative solutions rather than accepting limitations. The shop class that had helped with the installation saw increased enrollment as students recognized the value of practical skills combined with creative thinking. 1 month after the lights installation, the first home game under the new system drew a record crowd. People came from surrounding counties, having heard about the midnight basketball games that had become a local tradition. The atmosphere was electric, with the improved lighting giving the modest high school gymnasium the feel of a professional arena. The team, inspired by their enhanced facility and the community's support, played with unprecedented energy. The project's success sparked discussions about other community improvements. The methodical approach that had made the lighting project successful became a template for addressing other challenges. When the town's public library needed renovation, organizers studied how Larry had coordinated different groups and resources. His strategy of quiet, persistent progress over dramatic gestures proved remarkably adaptable to various community needs. Perhaps the most significant impact was on the younger generation. They had witnessed firsthand how age didn't determine ability to create change. The sight of their basketball hero working alongside electricians, consulting with business owners, and coordinating community efforts had expanded their understanding of leadership. It showed them that excellence wasn't limited to sports. It was about approaching any challenge with dedication and thoroughness. The school's principal, who had initially viewed the project with skepticism, became one of its strongest advocates. In meetings with other administrators, he shared how the lighting project had transformed not just the gymnasium, but the school's spirit. The project had demonstrated that students could be trusted with significant responsibilities when given proper support and guidance. Local youth organizations began incorporating lessons from the lighting project into their leadership programs. They emphasized the importance of detailed planning, community engagement, and quiet persistence in achieving goals. The project became a case study in how young people could identify needs and organize resources to address them effectively. The electrical union members who had supervised the installation found themselves in demand as advisors for similar projects. In other communities, they spoke about how Larry's detailed preparations had made their work easier and how his attention to safety and quality had matched professional standards. Their testimony helped spread the project's influence beyond French Lick. 6 months after the installation, the gymnasium hosted a regional basketball tournament. Teams from across the state experienced the superior lighting system firsthand. Coaches and players alike commented on how the quality of illumination enhanced performance. What had started as a solution to a local problem had become a standard for other schools to aspire to. The project's legacy extended into unexpected areas. Local technical education programs saw increased enrollment as students recognized the value of practical skills. The successful collaboration between different community groups led to more partnerships between businesses and schools. The project had demonstrated how technical excellence and community spirit could reinforce each other. The story reached college basketball recruiters who were impressed not just by Larry's athletic abilities, but by his leadership and project management skills. The lighting project demonstrated a maturity and capability that set him apart from other prospects. It showed that his understanding of basketball went beyond playing. He comprehended how to create optimal conditions for excellence. A year after the installation, the gymnasium's lighting system had operated flawlessly, validating every aspect of its design. The energy efficiency Larry had built into the system resulted in lower operating costs than the old lights had required. His insistence on quality components and proper installation had created a lasting benefit for the school and community. The midnight basketball tradition continued, becoming a unique feature of French Lick's community life. The games attracted players of all ages and skill levels, creating an informal but vital social institution. The gymnasium became more than a sports facility. It was a gathering place where community bonds were strengthened and future leaders were inspired. What amazed many observers was how the project's influence continued to grow. Other communities, facing similar challenges, began approaching problems differently, looking for ways to engage young people and leverage local resources. The French Lick model demonstrated how technical problems could become opportunities for community building. As Larry's high school career progressed, the Lit Gymnasium remained a testament to what vision and determination could achieve. Every Evening practice under those lights reinforced the lesson that excellence required more than natural talent. It demanded careful planning, attention to detail, and the ability to bring people together for a common purpose. Have you ever seen a simple solution to a problem create lasting change in your community? Share your experiences in the comments below. Sometimes the greatest innovations come not from complex technology, but from people who refuse to accept that things can't be improved. The legacy of the gymnasium lighting project continued to influence Larry Bird's approach to challenges long after the last wire was connected and the final switch tested. As his basketball career progressed from high school to college and beyond, the lessons learned during those transformative months in French Lick shaped his leadership style and decision-making processes in ways that would impact the sport for decades to come. The experience of coordinating diverse groups and resources had taught Larry valuable lessons about leadership that transcended basketball. His ability to bring together electricians, business owners, and community members had revealed a talent for organization that complemented his athletic abilities. This combination of skills would later prove invaluable as he transitioned from player to coach and executive. College scouts who visited French Lick began noticing something unique about the young athlete's practice sessions. Under the lights he had helped install, Larry's workouts showed a level of structure and efficiency that set him apart from other prospects. Every drill, every shot, every movement had purpose, a reflection of the same methodical approach that had made the lighting project successful. The gymnasium had become more than just a practice facility. It was a laboratory where Larry continued to refine his understanding of what made a team successful. The midnight sessions that had become legendary in French Lick weren't just about developing basketball skills. They were about building the mental toughness and attention to detail that would define his future career. Local coaches noticed how Larry's approach to game preparation evolved after the lighting project. His understanding of how environmental factors affected performance led him to pay attention to details that others overlooked. He began analyzing how different lighting conditions affected shooting percentages, using insights gained from installing the gymnasium's system to adjust his practice routines. The project's success had taught him the value of thorough preparation and the importance of considering every variable. This lesson carried over to his approach to basketball strategy. Just as he had studied electrical systems and lighting angles for the gymnasium project, he began breaking down game films with unprecedented attention to detail, looking for small advantages that could make the difference between victory and defeat. Stories of the French Lick Gymnasium project began circulating in basketball circles, adding another dimension to Larry's growing reputation. Coaches and scouts were impressed not just by his athletic abilities, but by his capacity to identify problems and implement solutions. The lighting project demonstrated a maturity and leadership potential that set him apart from his peers. The midnight basketball tradition he had established continued to thrive, creating opportunities for younger players to develop their skills. Larry made sure to participate whenever he could, using these sessions to mentor upcoming athletes. The lights that had made extended practice possible were now illuminating the path for the next generation of players. During college recruitment visits, Larry often found himself discussing the lighting project alongside his basketball achievements. College coaches were intrigued by how he had approached the challenge. His ability to coordinate complex logistics while maintaining his athletic development showed a level of dedication and capability that few young athletes possessed. The project's influence became evident in how Larry approached team dynamics in his later career. Just as he had brought together different segments of the French Lick community, he showed a natural ability to unite players with diverse backgrounds and playing styles. His understanding of how individual contributions could be coordinated for collective success had been honed during those months of community organizing. Professional scouts began including the lighting project in their assessment reports. They recognized that Larry's involvement in such a significant community initiative revealed character traits that statistics couldn't measure. His willingness to tackle complex problems and his ability to execute long-term plans suggested a potential that went beyond athletic ability. The lessons learned from the project influenced Larry's approach to leadership throughout his career. He understood that success often depended on creating the right conditions for excellence, just as the proper lighting had enhanced practice conditions in the gymnasium. This insight would later shape his decisions as a team leader and eventually as a coach and executive. Local businesses that had contributed to the project continued to tell the story, using it as an example of how investment in community initiatives could yield unexpected returns. The hardware store owner often spoke about how Larry's methodical approach to planning had made the project more efficient and cost-effective than anyone had anticipated. The project's success had demonstrated the importance of building strong foundations. Just as Larry had insisted on quality components and proper installation for the lighting system, he approached basketball fundamentals with the same attention to detail. His practice routines became famous for their structure and precision, reflecting lessons learned during the gymnasium renovation. Years later, when interviewed about his early career, Larry often referenced the lighting project as a formative experience. He explained how coordinating the community effort had taught him valuable lessons about leadership, preparation, and the importance of creating optimal conditions for success. These insights had influenced his approach to basketball in ways that continued to shape his career. The persistence required to complete the lighting project had reinforced Larry's natural tendency toward methodical improvement. Just as he had broken down the complex lighting installation into manageable steps, he approached basketball skill development with the same systematic attention to detail. This methodical approach would become a hallmark of his playing and coaching style. Professional teammates would later remark on Larry's unique approach to practice and preparation. The habits formed during those late-night sessions under the gymnasium lights had created a template for excellence that he continued to refine throughout his career. His insistence on perfect practice conditions and attention to environmental factors could be traced back to the lessons learned in French. The project's impact on Larry's understanding of team dynamics became evident in his professional career. Just as he had coordinated different groups during the lighting installation, he showed a natural ability to bring together players with different strengths and backgrounds. His leadership style emphasized creating conditions where everyone could contribute their best effort. College coaches who had recruited Larry often mentioned how the lighting project had influenced their evaluation. Beyond his obvious athletic talents, the project demonstrated an ability to identify problems, develop solutions, and coordinate complex efforts, skills that would prove valuable throughout his basketball career. The experience of working with various community groups had given Larry insights into human nature that proved valuable in his athletic career. He understood how different people responded to challenges and how to motivate diverse groups toward a common goal, lessons that would serve him well as both a player and a coach. Have you ever completed a project that taught you unexpected lessons about leadership and success? Share your experiences in the comments below. Sometimes our most valuable learning comes from challenges that seem unrelated to our main goals. Decades after that first midnight illumination, the French Lick Gymnasium stands as more than just a monument to basketball history. The lights that Larry Bird helped install continue to shine, their glow a testament to the enduring power of determination and community spirit. But the true legacy of that midnight fix extends far beyond the physical structure, inspiring new generations in ways that nobody could have predicted. Today, visitors to French Lick often make their way to the gymnasium, drawn by the story of how a young athlete's vision transformed a community. The lights still function perfectly, their professional-grade illumination a reminder of the quality that comes from careful planning and proper execution. But what captures people's imagination isn't just the technical achievement, it's the story of how one person's refusal to accept limitations sparked a community-wide movement. The midnight basketball tradition that began under those lights has evolved into something extraordinary. Young players from across the state make pilgrimages to practice where Larry Bird once perfected his shot. They come not just for the basketball, but to experience firsthand how determination and community support can create lasting change. The gymnasium has become a symbol of possibility. Its well-lit court, a stage where new dreams take shape. Local educators have incorporated the story into their curriculum, using it as a case study in problem-solving and community organization. Students learn how technical challenges can become opportunities for social innovation, how careful planning and collaboration can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The project serves as a practical example of how young people can make significant contributions to their communities. The hardware store that provided materials for the project maintains a small display about the lighting installation. Yellowed. Newspaper clippings and old photographs tell the story of how a community came together behind a young man's vision. New business owners in French Lick often visit the display, drawing inspiration from how local enterprises once united to support a worthy cause. The electrical union members who supervised the installation have passed down stories to their apprentices, using the project as an example of how technical excellence and community service can align. They point out how Larry's insistence on quality components and proper installation created a system that has operated flawlessly for decades. The project has become part of their professional folklore, a standard against which other community initiatives are measured. Young athletes who practice under these lights often find themselves reflecting on the project's deeper meaning. They understand that the illumination above them represents more than just technical innovation. It's a reminder that age and circumstances don't determine one's ability to create meaningful change. The court has become a place where athletic ambition meets civic responsibility. The school's maintenance records tell their own story of excellence. The lighting system's durability and efficiency stand as testimony to the value of doing things right the first time. Regular inspections consistently find the system performing above expectations, its design and installation quality evident in decades of reliable service. It's a practical lesson in how initial investment in quality pays long-term dividends. Community leaders from other towns still visit French Lick to study the project's legacy. They come seeking technical information, but leave with deeper insights. About youth leadership and community engagement, the gymnasium has become a case study in how small communities can leverage local resources and talent to create lasting improvements. The story continues to resonate with young entrepreneurs and community organizers. They see in Larry's approach a template for tackling complex challenges, the importance of thorough planning, the value of building broad support, the power of quiet persistence. The project demonstrates how technical solutions can catalyze social transformation. Local basketball coaches have developed a tradition of sharing the lighting project story with each new generation of players. They use it to illustrate how excellence in sports connects with broader life skills, the importance of preparation, the value of teamwork, the need for persistence in the face of obstacles. The gymnasium has become a classroom where these lessons are taught through both word and example. The project's influence extends into unexpected areas. Local technical education programs use it as an example of how practical skills can serve community needs. Business classes study it as a model of effective project management. Leadership seminars analyze how Larry's quiet but determined approach created lasting change. The lighting project has become a touchstone for discussions about community development and youth empowerment. Visitors to the gymnasium often remark on its atmosphere, something beyond the quality of the lighting or the history of the space. There's a sense of possibility that permeates the court, an energy that seems to inspire everyone who steps onto it. The lights above serve as a constant reminder that extraordinary achievements often begin with simple solutions to practical problems. The project's legacy is evident in how French Lick approaches new challenges. When community initiatives are proposed, people often reference the lighting project as a model of effective collaboration. The question, how would Larry have approached this, has become shorthand for emphasizing thorough planning and broad community engagement. Young athletes who train in the gymnasium often speak about feeling connected to something larger than basketball. The lights that illuminate their practice. Sessions remind them that they're part of a continuing tradition of excellence and community service. Many have gone on to initiate their own community improvement projects, inspired by the example set decades ago. The story has become part of basketball folklore, shared in locker rooms and coaches' offices across the country. It's referenced, not just for its basketball connection, but as an example of how athletes can contribute to their communities beyond their sport. The project demonstrates how athletic discipline and community service can reinforce each other. Local business leaders continue to point to the project as an example of effective community investment. The initial contributions of time, materials, and expertise have yielded returns far beyond anyone's expectations. The gymnasium's impact on community pride and youth development has created value that can't be measured in conventional terms. The school maintains a small archive of materials related to the project: planning documents, technical drawings, newspaper articles, and photographs. These materials are regularly accessed by students researching community history or studying project management. The detailed records provide insights into how thorough planning and broad collaboration can lead to lasting success. Each new generation that practices under these lights adds to the story. They bring their own dreams and aspirations, but they also carry forward the legacy of determination and community spirit that made the project possible. The gymnasium has become a place where past inspiration fuels future achievement. The practical lessons of the lighting project continue to influence community planning. When new initiatives are proposed, organizers often study how Larry coordinated different groups and resources. His approach to breaking down complex problems into manageable steps has become a model for community action. As French Lick continues to evolve, the gymnasium stands as a reminder of what's possible when vision meets determination. The lights that Larry Bird helped install still illuminate the court, but their real brightness lies in how they continue to inspire new generations to dream big and take action. Have you ever visited a place where history and inspiration merge to create something magical? Share your experiences in the comments below. Sometimes the most powerful monuments aren't built of marble and stone, but of determination and community spirit.